Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Modern Manifesting with me, Kimberly Rolls. Why didn't they teach us this in school? Welcome to my home. I am home. I'm back from China. I'm doing my first podcast video for you from home. I'm not sure. I hope you listened to part 1 of my trip from China. There is not enough time to record unless you guys have a long ride that you want to listen to it. Sorry, I'm just so when I left for China, the trees had no leaves on them. Like, you could see some of the green little buds coming, and now my yard is full of green trees and the flowers came up, and it's still blowing my mind, and I'm seeing the birds and animals, and I got my hummingbirds already I literally just put the water out for the hummingbirds yesterday, and they're here, so I'm still coming back to United States. I apologize, but here's what happened. This episode is called How to Believe It Before You See It. And it's inspired by a lot of things that happened when I was in China, which is why I wanted to record this as part of my return from China. And I will get back to the China story, part 2. I just wanted to talk about this before I get wrapped up in the world here. So a lot of things happened, a lot of shifts, a lot of, we saw a lot of places. There was a lot of really good days. There were really a lot of stressful, I don't want to say bad days, but there were things that were out of our control. We had flights canceled and delayed. We had issues with immigration, with our visas. I didn't know when I was going to get out of China. We had someone not make it up to Mount Everest. They had elevation sickness that, we tried to prepare for, get medication from our doctors, etc. But, you just don't know. And sometimes there's reasons why these things happen. And then we find out later, I was supposed to come home a day later because of this, or this person didn't make it up because, somebody was supposed to learn a lesson about that, or maybe there was going to be an accident, or, there's just so many reasons that you can't automatically just go to the negative when something doesn't go your way. And it seemed to be this theme on the trip. And I started writing this when I was on my trip, and then I just am trying to consolidate it for you because I know, and I work through it every day as well, but it's hard to believe that you can have something so unbelievable, unimaginable that you could have when you can't see it. So that's why this episode is called How to Believe Before You Can See, because the only way that you will see it is if you believe that you have it. Just like I teach you about identity, you won't be that person until you become that identity. You can't be someone who's rich, or if you don't already have that in you, that you can be that person, which is why so many people, who win the lottery lose money. We talked about that in an episode about identity. So what I will say is invisible precedes visible. You can have anything and everything that you want. You have to know that something that you create in your head, that you imagine, automatically is created in the invisible. Now you have to line up with it and bring it into your visible situation, into your visible life. Your life is full and reflective of your declarations. Just because something's not visible yet, it doesn't mean that you don't already have it. And most people will say things like, I'll believe it when I see it. And I remember the first time listening to Wayne Dyer say, that's backwards. We have to first believe it before we can see it. And what you have is what you have become. It is what you have declared to the universe. So that's why I talk about watching your words. When you say, I'm ugly, I'm stupid, watch with your words. You're declaring that to the universe. So when you declare, and we use I have, we are declaring and we are speaking the invisible into the visible. I have this, I am this. You know what I mean? Let's say that I ask you, how much money do you have right now? What would you say? What if I ask you, what kind of health do you have right now? What would you say? And what if I ask you, what kind of relationship do you have right now? What would you say? Sorry. I hope I didn't just lose you. I'm sorry, I don't know what just happened to my recording. So, okay. All right, I think we got this. Okay. So think about those areas and think about what you have in your life. Maybe I shouldn't have done this outside. I don't know. The problem is that most people confuse what they have as evidence of all they can have, and that's all they're worth. And the truth is, you can have, like I said, anything and everything that you want. So make a note right now in this introduction of this word, have. You can have anything and everything in life that you want. And in this episode, we're going to dive deep into the truth of having. And remember this before we get started. Invisible precedes visible. Remember when you were a child and you thought you could have anything and you imagined, you use your imagination. Imagination is what creates things. Imagination is creating things from the invisible to the visible. So in the introduction, I asked you to make a note. Invisible precedes visible. And when you learn to operate and live from this place, it's gonna be very easy for you. And here's the operative word: to have what you intend to have in life. And I don't know about you, but that was kind of hard for me many years ago. And like I said, I still struggle a little. So in the intro, I asked you, what do you have in the 3 particular areas of life that I asked you about? And this is what I request that you notice. Notice that what you have is what you have because you have declared it to yourself that is what you have. If you think back, I said, what kind of money do you have? And in your mind, you probably said, I have a lot of money, or I have little money. And I ask you about your health, and you could say, I have amazing health, or I have poor health. What we have to notice is your life is reflective of your declarations. And here's an important distinction. Everything you want in your life, if you can have it right now, but you don't think you can have it because you haven't seen it, right? You don't think you can have it because you haven't seen it. All things are invisible before visible. Ponder that. Like, that is a massive, massive, massive concept to explore, and it's a truism. It's truth. All things are invisible before visible. Think about babies. We don't actually see the infant baby, but we know that it's in our belly. Well, in a sonogram, we see it, but back in the day, they didn't. And you don't see the full-size baby, but you know you're having a baby, right? When you take that blood test and it comes back positive, or urine test and it comes back positive, that baby isn't in your hands yet. You're not seeing it, but you believe you're having a baby. I don't even know where that just came from. It just popped in my head. An example also would be the Wright brothers. Okay, so here's a realistic, legit. I think the baby is too, but whatever. Before flight was visible, it was invisible to the imagination. It was in the imagination of the Wright brothers. But that applies to everything in life. Jonas Salk, Einstein, anything and everything in life. Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, people that ascend to high political office or whatever. It all starts in the invisible, meaning in the mind, and from the invisible, it becomes visible. And this is why I said earlier, most people work from, well, I'll believe it when I see it, meaning when it's visible, I will believe it then. But it never becomes visible because you do not believe it first. So, excuse me. So just because something is not visible yet does not mean that you don't already have it. Think about that. Just because something is not visible yet does not mean that you do not already have it. Now, if you're working from the visible to invisible, you could say that's nonsense. I don't have it. It's not visible. Therefore, I'm telling you, Kim, I don't have it. It's not visible. That's backwards operation. And that's what keeps you literally without having the objects of your intention. Because you have supply, and everything comes from supply. I think I told you guys before, I have a post-it in my room that says, I am infinite supply. Anyway. You should write that down. That's a good affirmation. Now you can name supply whatever you want to name it. You can name it God, because you're God. You're part of the universe, divine mind, quantum field, consciousness, whatever you want to call it. That's you are a speckle. You came from that. You are part of that. You have supply right now. And because you have supply right now, you have everything potentially that you want right now. But the reality is, you're just not tuned into it. You're just not lined up into it yet. Okay? There's things that I'm still lining up for. I'm aligning. So let's say, for example, that let's pick a song. Let's pick Paul McCartney and the song Yesterday. They say, and I don't know if it's true, but they say that song is playing 24 hours a day on some radio station somewhere in the world. And I think that's an old myth, but again, I'm just sure it's playing many thousands of times throughout the world in a day anyway. Just because you're not tuned in and listening to that radio station does not mean that song's not playing somewhere. It's playing somewhere right now as you're listening to me, but you're not tuned into it. But it doesn't mean that it's not happening. It doesn't mean it's not existing. Do you know what I mean? So we have to get aligned and tune into what it is that we are trying to make visible in our life. So what I request that you do is this. What station are you tuned into mentally? The I have station or the I don't have station? And now go back to the question in the introduction. When I asked you what you had, what do you have with money, health, and relationships? Think about what station you were tuned into. Were you tuned into the I don't have money or I do have money? Notice this also in the intro. When I asked you about the three things regarding money, health, and relationships, how defined and how certain were you with what you have when I asked you about your money? Notice what you might have even said, well, I only have XYZ, I don't have da-da-da-da-da. But notice what was tied to that very simple question. Notice the other energies that were tied to that, okay? So what we need to do is we see physically what we experience, we declare that as us having it. And what we do not have, we declare that as us not having it. So think about that. What we can see physically, we declare as us having it. What we cannot see physically, we declare it as not having it. So where we are working from is, when we have evidence, we declare it. But if we don't have evidence, then we declare the opposite. We declare, I don't have it. And when I just talked about the song Yesterday, it's constantly playing somewhere in the world. Supply is constant, meaning you can constantly have. But what most people constantly do is they constantly declare that they cannot have. Declaration is when you say, I am going to do XYZ, or I'm not going to do XYZ. That, my friend, is a declaration. And what you declare is what you speak into existence. So one of my favorite coaches years ago, a mentor, she once said to me, and it's so true, we speak our lives into existence. And then look at this existence. Look how the external world of evidence literally determines our internal world of experience. We literally, if you just watch it, which I don't watch a lot of it, I every so often do just to kind of get an idea what's going on in the world, especially when I went away, but you watch it for 15 minutes and every bit of the news is all about declarations and people whining and countries whining and politicians whining, and they are declaring, notice here, they are declaring, whoa, gas prices are really high, mortgages are really high, homes are really expensive, right? So what we do is we actually look at the evidence of the external world and then we make declarations about ourselves. And what we do through self-fulfilling prophecy is we fulfill those declarations by literally speaking them into existence. So what most of us have learned to do over the years, and trust me, I did for many years, is we've learned not having is our status quo mental setting. Meaning we're so used to not having that we simply declare, I don't have, I don't have, I don't have. Most people work from, and I did for like 40 freaking years of my life, Most people declare, and I was a master at it, I don't have. And I noticed what I was doing. I was declaring from the evidence of the visible, and I was never operating from infinite supply and from the invisible. So I'm going to repeat now, and I think this is my third or fourth time. I apologize, but I'm really just trying to drive this home for you. Excuse me. Allergy season. Invisible precedes visible. We've got to get our mind around that, because that's where the power is in those three words. But I know, the old me would say, it's not visible, therefore I don't see it, I don't have it. And then notice all the emotions you get into, the fear, the trepidation, and the indecisiveness of all these things when we don't have the visible evidence. When the visible evidence literally precedes the invisible declaration, meaning the declaration of the mind, most people live what I call lives of passive hope. And the passive hope is, I hope, I wish, I pray. And notice this. This is what people constantly say. And I did it also for many years. And these days I say, I intend. But what I used to say is, I want. And any time that you say you want, notice what you're also simultaneously doing. Anytime you say, I want blank, in that moment you're simultaneously declaring you do not have that object of your desire. And that is a declaration. And the universe delivers on your declaration. Make a note of this. This is really important, guys. I have this highlighted. All supply belongs to you. And here's what I want you to notice. Claim what belongs to you. Think about that. All supply belongs to you. And I'm going to take it a little further. I'm going to use a word, and I haven't decided how I want to keep using this word, but I'm going to use the word God in a non-religious way. But in a particular religious passage, the phrase is, what God has, I have. Think about that. What God has, I have. And the truth is, if you look at a wave in the ocean, the wave has what the ocean has. It's a part of the ocean. So if you're a part of consciousness and God is consciousness, what God has, you have. What the universe has, you have. But what most of us is, we declare the opposite because we cannot see it yet. And the universe is saying, it's right in front of you, it's right here. If the universe could speak, the universe would say, most of us don't even see that. We look at our own life. We don't recognize we're part of the universe, part of God, part of the quantum field. And so then we say, through evidence, looking through our beady little eyes, I don't have that. The universe would say, I have it. And because you're part of me, you have it. Kind of blows your mind and changes you, makes you really... I'm hoping this really makes you believe that you can have anything when I say this. Just keep listening to it on repeat. And then what a lot of us do is we wait for the world to tell us when it's okay for us to have something. Am I right? We want the evidence to prove that we can have it. When we wait for the world to tell us that we can have something that we have not yet seen, in that moment we are working from, we don't see it, we don't have the evidence, and because we don't have the evidence, now we're psychologically working from, I cannot have it, which means I will never have it. So let's go back to that word, declaration. What you speak is declaration. What you say out into the world is, you're declaring this. In the opening of this episode, you made declarations without even knowing you were making declarations. When I asked you, how much money do you have? What kind of health do you have? What kind of relationship do you have? Think back to the very beginning and notice what you did. You declared what you have. You declared, I have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of money. I have good health. I have bad health. I have a shitty relationship. I have an amazing relationship. They're all declarations. So watch your words, like I've said in many, many episodes. So I just want to use an example here. Let's say that you want a crop. You're trying to plant something. Here in New England, it's spring. It's getting there, right? It's supposed to be. You're a farmer. You don't have a crop yet, but what you have is seeds. So we got seeds. So when you plant the seeds, notice where you're working from. You're already working from, even though the seeds have been planted, you're already working from, I have. You don't say, a crop is coming in all probability. You never plant a seed and go, I hope that seed has the DNA to be able to grow into a plant. When we plant the seed, we know the crop's going to grow, even though the crop isn't visible yet. Think about that. For the fourth or fifth time, all things are invisible before they're visible. The example of the Wright brothers, the example of the seed. Before there was even a seed, there was no seed, and then that seed became visible. You planted the seed, and they sprouted, and more plants became visible. All things come from the invisible first. So we have to start thinking from, this is a really simplistic and truly profound, we have to start thinking from, I have. And by the way, we're going to practice this in a moment, because even when I say I have, your first inclination is, okay, sure, I can say that. But yeah, I don't have it. And then you feel like you don't have it. So we're going to practice this, because when we say I want, what we're doing is broadcasting to the universe that we do not have. And the more we broadcast that we do not have, the more the universe delivers on that declaration. Okay? So we don't want to say I want. That's a hard one. But you don't want to say I want. So we have to start working from the emotional state of having. I put a lot of thought into this, can you tell? And the emotional state of having is not just psychological, it's also a vibration frequency, but it's also actually neurological. When we're working from the state of having, that emotional state creates a dopamine release in the brain. It releases serotonin and oxytocin. And those are all feel-good brain chemicals. And when we work from these brain chemical emotional states, that lowers our cortisol. And when we lower the cortisol, now we're in a state where it's easier for us to imagine having and working from supply and not lack. And I could definitely, any woman that I know could definitely use to lose some cortisol, right? It's not a good... what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a good release, not a good chemical. So let's put this to a test. I want you to think about what you want, not have. Think about what you want. Maybe it's a new car, a new apartment, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, whatever. Think about what you want and notice for a moment how you feel in your body. Notice some feelings of desire, some pings of wanting, maybe a little fear, frustration, uncertainty or anxiety. And notice the very subtle feelings that you have when you think about wanting something, because also, simultaneously, when you're thinking about wanting it, another part of your mind is looking at the evidence of, I don't have it, which is what creates the anxiety or the fear. So I want to switch that for a moment. This is the object of your desire, the apartment, whatever it is. Now say and imagine, I have the apartment of my dreams, even if it's not visible yet. I have an amazing girlfriend. I have an amazing husband. I have abundance. I have a healthy body. And imagine how you feel when you are experiencing that emotional state of having. So much more peaceful and calm, isn't it? This is a part of the brain that does not know the difference between real and imagined. I've said this before. And when you imagine having these things, there's a part of your brain already working from that space. But I want to give you more power. instead of just saying, I have the car, the house, the watch, whatever it is, I want you to work from the state of infinite supply. So here's the declaration that I suggest that you write down, that you say, I have divine supply. And I think I told you this at the beginning. I had a post-it in my room that says something like that. Now the word divine, you can say God, universal mind, infinite intelligence, whatever you want. I have divine supply flowing to me now from expected and unexpected sources. Think about the power of that, because many of us try to condition things by saying what source we expect them to come from. So when we speak this truism, I have divine supply flowing to me now from expected and unexpected sources. I have the love, health, and abundance that is my divine inheritance. When you speak this now, notice what you're doing. You're inviting all this abundance into your life. Like, just listening to me, doesn't it make you just believe that this is true? When you practice this, it becomes second nature. Why? Because our nature is to listen to the podcast and think, holy crap, like I just said, this makes really good sense to me. And then 5 minutes after you stop listening, you're back to your old crap again. It's not because of you, it's because it's the way your brain works. So you've got to condition your brain. And that's why I said go back and listen to this over and over if you have to. Take the approach that I just mentioned. At least write this down. I have divine supply flowing to me from expected and unexpected sources. I have the love, health, and abundance that is my divine inheritance. When you say that, speak it as a fact, just like I'm saying it to you now. Not as a wish, not as a hope, not as a dream, not as a prayer. Speak it as declaration, because now you are speaking your life into existence from a position of power and strength and having, and not from a position of lack. 5th or 6th time. All things are invisible before visible. Say it with me. All things are invisible before visible. And when we declare this, we use I have. We are declaring and we are speaking the invisible into the visible. And in this moment, we are actively managing our consciousness. Okay, so something I want to demonstrate here. Notice what you have now in your mind, in your life, that you haven't even noticed until I just brought this to your awareness. What do you have right now that's provided to you by God consciousness, the universe, the quantum field? Like you could say, I have air in my lungs. I have a brain. I have the capacity to think. I have the capacity to choose. I have life force. I have the universe providing my awareness of life. I have the abundance for anything and everything that I want when I work from supply. And notice how that feels when you start working from already having. Start with something like I have air, I have a beating heart, I have the freedom to go outside, I have the freedom to stay inside, I have the choice, Start that way and notice how it feels when you start working from already having. You already have these things, they're just not visible to you because no one's ever taught you this before in the world that you live in. We're so conditioned to pay attention to that which we lack, unfortunately. We pay complete attention and we declare what it is we're lacking without paying attention to what we already have and the power that we already have. Okay, so let's make this concrete. I want you to think about 5 things that are pretty concrete, 5 things that you already have and that you appreciate having. And we're going to speak 5 truisms of things that are visible and things that you have. And you already know these things are true. So just pick 5 random things. Okay? You could say, I have food supply available to me. You could say, I have shelter. Even if you're living in your car, you have shelter. I have a mind. I have access to the internet or a podcast, because if you didn't, then you wouldn't be able to listen to this. I have friends or family or people that I love. Those are just examples. You can pick any 5 things you want. But here's what I request that you notice. Notice the feelings, the certainty, the realness, the truism that you are feeling when you actually notice what you have. You're not hoping you have food. You're not hoping you have shelter. You have certainty. And notice the certainty, because there's no lack in certainty. You're working from abundance. So what we're going to do is we're going to trick your brain. Before we do this, what I want you to do is think about something you desire that you have not yet physically acquired. Take a second and do that now. Think about something you intend to bring in your life that you do not have visible evidence yet. Okay? Maybe it's a watch, maybe it's a car, maybe it's an apartment, maybe it's perfect health, maybe it's a job. And now what you're going to do is take those 5 things that you know you already have. And I'm going to say this very slowly. Pick the 5 things you already know you have, and we're going to make these pegs, like pegs on a wall. And these are going to be your go-to when you do this exercise. And it's actually going to automatically get you into a state of gratitude. And then we're going to add a 6th thing, the one final thing. So let's say peg number 1, I have shelter. Peg number 2, I have good health. Peg number 3, I have clothes to wear. Peg number 4, I have money in the bank. Peg number 5, I have a good running vehicle. Now, in the 6th position, add the object of your intent. What is it, the thing that you desire? Peg number 6. Is it a home, a new partner, more money? I have a job I love, and they love me. Everyone is friendly. We help and support each other. I take home as much money while doing half the work. Go through 1 through 5 first, because you're declaring truisms. So go through pegs 1 through 5. You're creating the feeling of truism. And then in that 6th spot, you declare that you have the object of your intention. So let's say you're wanting a bigger apartment. Go through your 1 through 5 and always keep them the same 1 through 5. Commit them to memory. And then number 6, tack on the object of your desire. I have 1, I have 2, I have 3, I have 4, I have 5, I have 6, the apartment. Let it sit, let it go. In that moment, you just declared that you have the invisible that is not yet visible. And you've already simultaneously raised your frequency and vibration by having the feeling of already having things, and then tying that frequency to your number 6. You're welcome. Recognize this, okay, you guys? Your current supply, what you think you have right now, is a very limited picture of what you can have. Your current supply is not the full picture of actual cosmic God consciousness, divine mind supply. And so for the 6th time, and I keep saying it over and over because repetition is the mother of all learning, I would request you just let this go through your mind over and over and over again. All things are first invisible before they become visible. That little exercise we just did with the pegs, the 6th spot is invisible before it becomes visible. But we're going to make it become visible. We're going to facilitate it becoming visible by speaking it into existence. I had a 13-hour plane ride to put this together for you. So, as we start wrapping up here, know this. When you speak I have as a declaration, and a declaration is simply just something you speak as truth, that is the language of extreme abundance. And when we're working from that place, we are working from literally God first, consciousness first, the universe first, source first, and not the visible first. We're literally working from where all creation comes from. Okay, so let's go back to the introduction. When I asked you, what do you have right now regarding money? What did you say back then? And then I asked you, what do you have as health? What did you say 45 minutes ago? I don't know how many minutes ago. When I ask you, what do you have in terms of your relationship? What did you say? Now, after going through all of this, if I asked you, what do you have regarding money? What would be your answer now, knowing all things are invisible before visible? Speak the declaration, I have extreme abundance. I have money flowing into my life. You're speaking your life into existence from invisible to the visible. So your declarations will determine what you have, and what you declare is what you speak. Once you declare it, leave it alone. Do not force it. Do not pick at it. Do not doubt it. Simply speak it into existence as if you already have it. Declare it and leave it alone. Because once you declare it and leave it alone, that moment you are turning it over to God, the universe, whatever that word is for you. Just like when you plant a seed or have a baby, plant an embryo. When you plant a seed, what you're really doing is declaring in that moment, you already know the universe is going to make it grow. The second you plant it and you leave it alone, you're already declaring that you trust the universe. The same thing applies here. Take the exercise that I gave you with the pegs, 1 through 5, add the 6th one, and let it be. Leave it alone. Let it go. Know that the universe is taking care of it. Thank you for listening. I will catch you on the next episode. I hope this helped you. It even helped me writing it. So it's for you. I love you. And I'll see you or talk to you on the next episode. If you need anything, you know how to reach me. Contact me. Sign for my email list. I got stuff coming up this summer. All right. Look forward to seeing you. Bye, guys.